I think when you look at the season he's having, the quality of player he is, the contract, the term on the contract, I think he has the chance to be, or he will be, the most impactful player moved at this year's deadline. Fair or foul?
Well, Jake Gensel would have a lot to say about that. But me personally, this would be the guy if I were, in charge of a Stanley Cup team that had an opening in their top 6. This would be the guy I'd be going after. I love that he's not a rental. I love that next year his cap hit is just $5.8 million. So if you're going to spend the assets, at least get a couple playoff runs out of him. And I don't really care what happens after that. Let him go to free agency, let him walk. If you feel the need to keep him and pony up the $8 million, be my guest. But in the meantime, acquisition cost, I think he's absolutely worth what the St. Louis Blues are asking, which is basically 2 first-round picks or a first-round pick plus first-round value, meaning a recent first-round pick. So I think it starts there. I think they are in a spot where, look, come knock my socks off is essentially what Doug Armstrong has said. I just think in the back of his mind, Doug Armstrong knows that he's not going to be re-signing this guy when it gets to a year from now, or potentially as soon as this summer. And that whether it's now or whether it's in the summer or next year at the deadline, that he's going to be moving Pavel Buchnevich, and it's really just a matter of when and for what. And if you could possibly maximize that, now's the time to do it.
So obviously a premium asset that'll cost a premium amount of pieces going the other way. Which teams do you think could pony up the assets for this guy?
So just for some clarity too and perspective, because I think one thing that we're missing is Pavel Buchnevich. Okay, his numbers are pretty decent, but what is he? Over the last 3 seasons, he has 0.98 points per game. So essentially 1 point per game that he's played since he arrived in St. Louis. Do you know that's tied for 35th in the league over that span? And do you know the guys that he's tied with? Brad Marchand, Clayton Keller, and Dylan Larkin. 3 pretty important pieces to their teams. And so I'll have the full breakdown today on dailyfaceoff.com, but to look at the teams that could be in the mix, I mean, he makes sense for all these teams. I think Carolina, they're always looking for difference makers. The fact that he's not a rental, that checks a box. The Red Wings, I think that's another team that could be an interesting fit I think Steve Yzerman is one of the true wild cards of this deadline. The Oilers, we know, probably prefer a player with term as opposed to a rental and a top 6 forward. That's a fit. He used to play in New York. He was a cap casualty 3 seasons ago, but maybe he fits now and has the term. The Islanders are another team that could use a bit more punch, and I don't think that Lou Lamoriello is willing to close the door on this season yet. And then that leaves the Golden Knights, which, by the way, last summer acquired another Russian winger from the St. Louis Blues in Barbashev, who helped them go to and win their first Stanley Cup. So those are the 6 teams that I have in the mix. I think maybe an outside chance, someone like Colorado, because he does have term, but with Landeskog potentially coming back and Nichushkin on his way back, I think the focus is on center. And I just think this guy would be a phenomenal pickup for anyone that's interested.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Seravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.